Hi, it's Michelle. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 books that I think would bring just about anybody out of a reading slump. And I say just about anybody because there is no book that literally everyone loves or agrees on. But in my opinion, these books would really help get people out of a reading slump. These are all books that I couldn't put down. And when I was done reading them, I couldn't wait to pick up another book. So to me, that's the best way to get out of a reading slump, is not just to read one book, but to want to keep reading after it. The first one I want to talk to you about is The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. She is one of my favorite authors. And this is the first book of hers that I read. And in this book, we have Sylvie. Sylvie is a very lonely person, and she's got a sister that was murdered years ago, and the case has never been solved. Her mom, who she's not close to at all, calls her and tells her that she has cancer, and so she goes home to try to help her. And it's one of those going home situations where she doesn't want to go home. She doesn't have fond memories of living there, so it's kind of traumatizing almost to have to go home again. And so she goes back home and she's trying to help her mom. There's a lot of parent-child dynamics going on in this book, and also memories of her sister. And then she decides that she wants to try to figure out who did kill her sister. I just had such a hard time putting this book down. It's very haunting and eerie and at times nauseating and yet beautiful at the same time. The author has such a beautiful way of describing things. It's kind of chilling in some ways, but heart-wrenching in other ways and uplifting in other ways. It's a 3-for-1 kind of deal when you get this book and read it. The next book I want to talk to you about is The Nightengale by Kristin. This is a historical fiction novel about 2 sisters, Isabella and Vianne, and they are living in France during World War II. This book it's very hard to put down. It's very heart-wrenching and sad, and it is depressing at times, but it's just so good. And I felt a real connection with the characters in the book. It's a very interesting part of the world's history. It's about survival, not just surviving ourselves, but what we will do to help others survive, and some people that maybe don't want to do anything to survive. And it's also about how evil some people can be. Also, this is being made into a movie, which I love that. Reading a book and knowing a movie's coming out soon, it's so exciting, waiting for it to come out and being able to watch it and kind of compare notes on the movie and the book and everything. The next book that I think will help get you out of a reading slump is Mother May I, Joshilyn Jackson. This one is really hard to put down. It's like reading, it's like a book version of a roller coaster, just really like this, and then twists and turns. And every time I thought I figured out what was going on, I was wrong. So this book is a domestic suspense in which a mother must decide how far she's willing to go to protect her child and the life she loves. A chilling and thoughtful tale of power, privilege, lies, revenge, and the choices we make that transform our lives in unforeseen ways. I think this book might be triggering for some mothers because there is a kidnapping that takes place, and I had a hard time with it not being a mother. So if you are a mom, you just might want to know that going in, that hey, be prepared, there's a kidnapping that happens in the book. I felt a little bit tense reading this book because I was just so on edge, wanting to know what was going on and what was going to happen. The next one I want to mention to you is Later by Stephen King. This book, it's another one I could not put it down. And it got me wanting to read Stephen King books again because I really hadn't been reading them for quite a while. This one is about a boy named Jamie. Jamie has a very unusual gift. He can see the last certain amount of time before someone died. His mother wants to keep this a secret because she thinks that it could be very destructive to his life. And there's a detective that ends up finding out that he's able to do this. This detective wants him to help her solve something for her. And it leads both of them down this very crazy path. And it puts his safety and a few other people's in jeopardy as well. It's just so good. And it's just the character of Jamie is so wonderful and lovable. I really, really love him as a person. And I'm hoping that there's more books about Jamie because I really did grow attached to him. Now, I originally read this in the audiobook version, or I listened to it. I definitely recommend that, but I did read it physically as well, and I enjoyed it also that way. It's only 264 pages long, so if you're wanting to get back into reading, but you don't want to read something like this that is so thick, this would be a good one to start with. And I know Stephen King is a horror writer. I don't really think this book is scary, though. There's one part that's kind of, ugh, but I wouldn't call it scary. So if that's something that you're worried about, I wouldn't let that stop you from reading this book. And then the last book is one that I just read that I absolutely could not put down. I read it very quickly, and now I'm having my husband read it because I want to know what he thinks about different things in the book. It's called Enduring Love by Ian McEwan. This book is about a man named Joe. And it starts out with he and his wife Clarissa having a picnic. And there's a hot air balloon that's having an emergency. Basically, a little boy is in this hot air balloon by himself. And a bunch of people go running over there to try to rescue the boy. And so they're all hanging off the side of the hot air balloon, trying to get their weight to pull the balloon down. And there comes a certain point where everybody lets go for different reasons. People let go. And there's one man that keeps holding on. His letting go leads to his demise. So Joe goes to see if he is okay after he falls from a very high height. And this guy, one of the guys that was also hanging off the side of this balloon, off the basket, he shows up. His name is Jed. And Jed starts asking Joe if he wants to pray with him. And Joe doesn't want to pray with him, but the guy he's really pushy about it, to the point of being creepy. So Joe leaves, and right away, this guy starts stalking him. He won't stop calling him. He's telling him he's in love with him. It gets real creepy real quick. It was so hard to put down because I wanted to know what was going on. And was this guy going to leave him alone? Like, why wouldn't he leave him alone, right? Well, while he's being stalked by this guy, it feels like everybody turns on Joe. Nobody will believe him. And there's nothing worse than feeling like no one believes you. Everybody thinks we've all been there, right? Where somebody doesn't believe you and thinks you're being a drama queen and you're not. Like, you're really not. Or even if you are, it's real to you, right? So that's what this book is about. It's a really wild ride. And there's all kinds of questions that I walked away having after reading this book. All 5 of these books were 5-star reads for me, and they were all books that I could not put down and could not stop thinking about when I wasn't reading them, which to me is the mark of a good book. On top of that, all 5 books are books that I have thought about on a somewhat regular basis after reading, which to me is the mark of a great book. Have you read any of these? If you have, let me know. And did you feel the same way I did about them? And if you haven't read them, are there any that you want to read now? Also, just one other thing. If you've ever had a reading slump, which I think we all have, please let me know how you got out of it down in the comment section. Is there anything in particular that you did, or was it a certain book that helped you? I want to know all about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.